1960 was the year the third secret was going to be revealed. Great expectation, great anticipation of this.
She had said it, at the very latest it had to be revealed by 1960. And when she was asked why 1960, she said because then it would become more clear.
And we waited, and we waited, and still nothing, and nothing, and nothing.
I remember the feeling. I can only describe it as a kind of spiritual desolation when I learned that the decision had been made and the third secret would not be revealed.
So to dismiss the message of Fatima is to dismiss prophecy as such.
Some of us have figured out what the third secret is. With the help of people who read the secret.
In the year 1917, on a hillside near the village of Fatima in Portugal, the Blessed Virgin Mary appeared 6 times in successive months to 3 shepherd children, Lucia de Santos and her cousins Francisco and Jacinto Marto. The Blessed Virgin's message to the children, which was a message to be given to all mankind, was that man must cease offending God, for he is already too much offended, that great punishments will fall upon the world if man does not do penance, and that God wants to establish in the world devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Our Blessed Mother asked at Fatima that the faithful pray the Rosary every day. On October 13, 1917, she performed the great miracle of the sun, witnessed by 70,000 people, which, over a period of about 10 minutes, the people saw the sun dance in the sky, plummet to the earth, and return to its place. Even the anti-Catholic press at the time reported the details of the miracle. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Fatima message is the third part of the Fatima secret, the so-called Third Secret, which was given on July 13, 1917. The first 2 parts of the secret, Sister Lucy recorded in her memoirs that she wrote in August 1941. The first part described the vision of hell that she and her 2 cousins saw. And the second part of the secret concerned devotion to the Immaculate Heart. Sister Lucy would not write down the third part of the secret, but subsequently gave what appears to be the beginning of it. In December 1941, she wrote, "In Portugal, the dogma of the faith will always be preserved, etc." The rest of the third secret had yet to be put down on paper.
In June 1943, Sister Lucy became very ill. She became so sick that by September, the Bishop of Fatima was worried that she might die. And he was concerned that she might die and not write down the secret, the third secret. And so he went to her and suggested to her that she write it down so that the secret would be not published at this time, but at least it would be there for the record. Now, Sister Lucy became quite concerned. She felt this was a tremendous responsibility. You see, the bishop had only suggested, and the bishop was not taking responsibility. If she thought it was a good idea, is how he put it, something like that. And so Sister Lucy thought about it and told the bishop, if you give me an order, if you give me a formal written order to write it down, I will obey. But I cannot do this on my own. I cannot take this initiative by myself. So the bishop thought about it for a month, and he prayed about it. And so in October, he in fact wrote the formal command to tell her to write down the third part of the secret, or as it's known, the third secret. Sister Lucy, as soon as she got the order, immediately set about to obey. And she tried for all of October, the rest of the month, all November, and all December to write down the secret. She could not bring herself to put pen to paper to write down the third part of the secret. Finally, on the 2nd of January 1944, in the chapel in Tui, Our Lady appeared to her and told her that indeed it was the will of God that she write down the secret. So Sister Lucy wrote down the secret, and by January the 9th, she wrote to the Bishop of Fatima that I have now completed the task you set out for me to do.
In 1957, just before the envelope containing the third secret was sent from Portugal to the Vatican at the request of the Vatican, Auxiliary Bishop Venancio found himself alone with this envelope. So he held the envelope up to the light to see what was in it. And holding that envelope to the light, he could see that the third secret was on one sheet of paper, and it consisted of about 24 to 25 lines.
Sister Lucy wrote the first part of the secret, The Vision of Hell. In her writing down the first part of the secret, she tells us that she was so frightened, and her cousins also, that they trembled with fear, and that she concludes that she herself would have died of fright had not Our Lady cut the vision short, and had not she been promised to be taken to heaven. So it was a terrifying thing for her to see, and yet she could write it down with apparently relative ease compared to writing down the third secret. And she wrote in the second part of the secret about the annihilation. That is, she used in other parts of her writing or speaking, she said that various nations will disappear from the face of the earth. She understood that the annihilation of nations is something terrible, and she could describe this without very much difficulty. But to write down the third part of the secret, she could not do it for more than 2 months without the intervention of the Blessed Virgin. It must be something terrible.